This week in the original Rochester Press Box from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant.
I'm Curt Smith, and we'll talk about what a lousy job Bud Selig has done as commissioner and why his successor is unlikely to be much better.
I'm Dan Moriarty, and I'll tell you why Manziel flipping the bird bothered me, and I don't think it's why you think.
I'm Harry Gibbs. I'm going to tell you why Sammy Watkins is everything the Bills imagine and more.
7 4-out innings, a fix for baseball. Join us on the Rochester Press Box this week. The Rochester Press Box is brought to you by Salvatore's at the Garage Door, Rochester's choice winner for Best Pizzeria, featuring Wacky Wing Wednesday and the Super Slice. It's as big as your head. The games are always on at the Garage Door, home to the Rochester Press Box. Hello everyone and welcome to the Rochester Press Box here from Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant. I'm Bill Pucko, happy to be with you, and welcome Dan Moriarty, who's anchoring this seat pretty well in John DiTullio's absence. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Harry Gibbs joins us from WHAM, where he's doing some noteworthy work for the Buffalo Bills, noteworthy in the sense that, and we'll get back to this,
yes,
about your cell phone adventure this week.
Absolutely.
And it's certainly our pleasure to bring in Curt Smith, a professor of English at the University of Rochester, and doing some writing for MLB.com. You have a column that is either appearing now or will shortly appear about the pace of baseball. Now, we have a new commissioner, Bud Selig, your arch enemy, is out of office. What do you think of the new guy?
I think he's Bud Light. I think if you like Bud Selig, you'll love his successor. I think that he's someone that I expected to be chosen. Baseball never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. And I had hoped that baseball would pick someone young, someone telegenic and articulate, someone who had a broadcast background. Instead, they picked someone who was middle-aged, someone who, as he showed in his first press conference, is spectacularly unarticulate, and someone who doesn't have a broadcast stripe in his entire body. I rest my case.
I tend to believe he's hiding something, though. You know, the introductory press conference
is
what it is.
Yes.
But he must have some ideas, right?
Well, it's like saying Bud Selig must have had some ideas. He did, but they were all bad during his 22 years. So he has yet to show me in his career as Bud Selig's underling that he really understands what are the problems of Major League Baseball and how to cure them.
Harry, you work for a baseball team, and you're close to the game. You're a young guy who likes the game. Much of what Curt has to say involves pace of the game, the fact that we're not attracting young people anymore. What side of the fence do you fall on?
Well, I think it's a Major League Baseball problem. I don't think it's a baseball problem. The game is still pure. I mean, I do the Newark Pilots games, as you mentioned. This is collegiate wood bat baseball. And outside a game that has, some poor defense, so there's a high number of errors, that'll extend a game. But for the most part, my games are 2 hours and 15 minutes, 2.5 hours. I mean, that's a great pace of play, and that's because they don't have the same issues of Major League Baseball.
Well, baseball's games run 2 hours and 15 minutes. Of course, that's just the first 4 innings. But if you look at baseball right now, a new Gallup poll 2 years ago, what is your favorite sport? In 1960, baseball beat football by 42 to 14%. 2 years ago, football beat baseball by 42 to 9%. This year, for the first time ever, baseball's rating so bad that Fox basically said, we're banning you from network television, and if you want a game on quote-unquote network television, you have to go to Fox Cable 1 Sports. Well, that's channel 400, and only people who already love the game are going to try to find out where channel 400 is. So as far as the casual fan, as far as the kid who's 8 and 10 and 12 years old, they're going to grow gray before, in fact, they finally find a baseball game. This is not a way to re-energize the once national pastime.
Danny, be commissioner for a half hour. Fix the game. Do something for the game that you'd like to see happen.
I think the first thing is you have to realize you have a problem first. And I don't think baseball, they're under this illusion that everything is just fine, the golden age of baseball. So how do you fix something when you can't realize you have a problem yourself? And now, maybe that's just the illusion they're presenting, and they understand behind the scenes that there is some things going on, but it seems to me that despite all the noise on the outside, baseball, those guys in the room that are making all these decisions, don't seem to understand that all of us, like me, who grew up a fan that I watch less and less every year, I'm worried about the health of the game and the future of the game because I feel like I see it and they don't, and they're the ones that are making the decisions.
Why do you care?
Because I love the game, and it worries me that somebody like me who has that love for the game doesn't take the time out to watch it as much anymore, because I feel like they're almost failing us, the baseball fans.
I think you and I and people who love baseball, frankly, more for what it was than what it is. Not that we don't love it today, but I totally agree with you. These are people who are millionaires and billionaires inside a room. They're cloistered, they're parochial. Bud Selig is the perfect example of this, and they do not understand that they have lost an entire generation of kids. Those kids are growing up to be fathers and mothers with no attachment to the game whatever. They're not going to teach their kids the kind of romance and poetry, the lilting motion and past memories of the game that we learned and that we try to pass to our kids. They're going to do what? Play soccer instead.
All righty, Curt.
Merry Christmas.
We'll keep it right there. Mike Ditka is making some comments, and we'll address those comments when we return.
President Obama was at the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown this week.
These are drunken, young knuckleheads.
They just have too much going against them. Kelly Johnson's not the answer at first base.
I like him. This past week, I hated him. Is he the best player in the National League right now? Absolutely, 100%.
And this is such a great story, the story that keeps on giving.
There are those who look at things the way they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not.
Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box here, Salvatore's Pizzeria and the historic Garage Door Restaurant. Bill, Dan, Harry, and Curt. We have this ongoing debate about the Washington Redskins nickname. I'm going to go to you with this, Danny. Phil Simms says he's not going to use it on network TV as the lead commentator for his network. And Mike Ditka comes out today and says it's all crap. Where do you fall?
Well, I find it interesting that CBS, Sean McManus, who runs CBS, he gave his anchors and his analysts the decision themselves to make that themselves whether or not they would use the term Redskins on the air. Jim Nantz has decided that's not up for him to do. He's the play-by-play guy. He's going to use Washington Redskins. Phil Simms has said he's considering not using it or may not use it at all. So it says a little bit about where we are in terms of the name that the TV executive for CBS is giving his people the decision to make for themselves on the air. And the other thing, the story today about Mike Carey, lead referee for the NFL, who's now working for CBS, told the NFL back in 2006 not to put him on any Washington games because he wasn't comfortable reffing a game with a team name that he considered to be disparaging.
You know, Harry, Ditka puts the label politically correct on it, and immediately we jump on that because everybody, I think, kind of agrees that politically correct is bad. Mm-hmm. Is this politically correct, or is it just correct?
I think it is political because I don't think it is the popular opinion. If you polled the masses, is it truly the popular opinion that Redskins is an offensive term to, again, the whole mass of people that are taking in NFL football? I don't think it would even hit the radar screen compared to concussions and things that really matter to people and are bothering people about the game. I think it's a political opinion more than anything.
This is in your wheelhouse, I think, Curt. Politically correct, these comments?
It is all crap. Ditka is correct. It is politically correct, but it is not factually correct. It is another example of liberal elites trying to bully middle America. It's why liberalism has become a dirty word. It's another example of why television networks are totally out of touch with the middle class. If you look at polling data, and this is referencing what you were mentioning, the overwhelming majority of American Indians are just fine with Redskins. The overwhelming majority of tribal chieftains or those who are associated with reservations are just fine with Redskins. Who are these people that are purporting to speak for Indians across the country or for any minority group across the country? Their arrogance is gargantuan, and frankly, their relevance ought to be pygmy because they simply don't speak. They would receive no kind of attention whatever if their views did not coincide precisely with the rest of the national media, and that includes what passes for a daily newspaper in Rochester.
But can't we run ahead of the curve? I
Why?
mean, so
Why?
things like, but Ditka
Why?
brings up Hallis and Lombardi. Well, days have changed since the 60s. I think we're a little more enlightened
Why should we
now.
change? Why should we? Who are you to tell American Indians what they should have and what they should not?
I don't think I'm doing that.
Yes, you are.
No, we're getting feedback from them.
No, from whom?
From the American Indians.
From leaders, those who call themselves leaders. But if you look at polling data, once again, Gallup, Sillinger, Lou Harris, across the board, the average rank and file American Indian thinks it's just fine.
We're not in a position. Well, okay. There's different data. There's different data. I don't think it's necessarily wrong to be ahead of the curve and to recognize a problem that wasn't perceived 50 years
According to
ago
whom?
as a problem
According to
now.
American liberalism. And then they'll go on to the next subject, try to trash middle America. And on to the next, and on to the next. Right. And I think middle America has had it. Has had it for the last 20 years, and this is simply one more example, the kind of reaction to which you allude.
Like it or not, when we return. Welcome back to the Curt Smith Show here from the Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant. Bill Pucko kind of prodding Curt along.
Don't you want people to watch the show instead of turning it off?
Oh, this is why we bring you here. Like it or not. Curt, let me go with you first. Little League Baseball on national TV. Like it or not?
Yes, I like it. I don't like it that their ratings actually eclipse Major League Baseball. That probably should tell you something. I like it except for I worry about the pressure, the elitism, if you would, separating players at Little League age from the rest of their peers. I like it because it does, I guess, give a platform to something that should be a marvelous forum for the building of character. So my feelings are split, but by and large I do like it because there's nothing like it in any other sport.
But more than even that, what really gets, I don't like to see the parents. I don't want to see the parents in the stands going crazy about their kids.
Yeah, Sunday, for instance, I was watching the game, and one of the kids made an error which ended the game, allowed the other team to win. And you worry about how he handles that, because I think they put a lot of pressure on themselves in these sort of situations. I love the way one of the coaches, I wish I could remember the team, handled it afterward, though, in a speech he gave his players, because it was exactly what he needed to say to those kids at the right time. And in the long run, they'll remember it as one of the times of their life. At the time, though, it's got to be absolutely devastating for them. But I love it. I love that it has all the things Major League Baseball doesn't. Pace. It's got urgency. It brings us to the TV because it's double elimination, so you got to watch them while they're on. And this Monet Davis story, there's a reason why she's on SI's cover this week.
And even with a moment like that, it's not the player's fault, really. It's the parents' fault, who are trying vicariously to live their lives through their kids, which is pathetic above all.
Harry, like it or not, Johnny Manziel lost the gig in Cleveland.
I don't like it. I just love everything about Johnny Football. I love the uniqueness. I love his approach to the game, that little chip on his shoulder that he's going to always carry with him, whether it's the middle finger from Monday Night Football or whatever it may be. I want to see that guy on primetime television. I just don't want to see Brian Hoyer, because I'm not watching the Browns rooting for them to win. I'm rooting to see an entertaining game.
But you're not a Browns fan.
No, exactly. But even if I was a Browns fan, I think I would want to see the opportunity that presents itself with Johnny Football at the helm.
Don't you think the raising the middle finger in that game helped cost him that job, Curt?
I'm not sure, but I think he should be reprimanded. We disagree on this. I think that he has done the impossible in 3/4 of a year. He has gone from Frank Merriwell and Joe Hardy to a guy that most parents would say, don't you ever be like this to their kids.
You want to explain who those people are?
No. They can go to their dictionary, but something they won't know.
Give us a name
either.
again.
Frank Merriwell and Joe Hardy, okay?
All right.
Hardy.
All right. Wikipedia, come to the rescue again. Danny, this may be the biggest of all of them. Like it or not, the fact that Hawaii is considering giving up football.
Oh, well, how can you like this? I mean, it's tough because it's, 80 to 100 players a year that won't get a chance to play college football. Because that's a team, so 80 scholarship players, you end up with about 100 players on a team. But I understand it from their standpoint. I mean, it's obviously a lot of travel costs. When you're the team in Hawaii, everybody's got to come to you. You got to go to them, though, as well. And so that sort of situation, when it was June Jones there, though, and they were going to BCS bowl games and taking in that money, then obviously they were making enough money to support that football team. But it's sad because, like I said, it's scholarships that go away for kids that would have had a chance to play Division I football.
Survival of the fittest versus the greater good maybe there. Unfinished business when we return.
President Obama was at the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Cooperstown this week.
These are drunken, young knuckleheads.
They just have too much going against them. Kelly Johnson's not the answer at first base.
I like him. This past week, I hated him. Is he the best player in the National League right now? Absolutely, 100%.
And this is such a great story, the story that keeps on giving.
There are those who look at things the way they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not.
We are back. This is the original Rochester Press Box, Salvatore's Pizzeria at the historic Garage Door Restaurant. Unfinished business. Danny.
Well, we talked about it a little bit already. Johnny Manziel, not the starting quarterback. And there's been a lot of talk about his play, a lot of talk about the finger that he raised to the sidelines of the Washington Redskins. And there's a reason why you can talk about the finger. I mean, obviously it's an obscene gesture. It's something that happened on Monday Night Football, something that everybody saw. The thing that bothered me the most, though, is this is a guy that's dealt with trash talk in college, his 2 years in college, his entire career in college, and something that he's going to have to deal with in his pro career as well. It's a preseason game. Yes, it's Monday Night Football, and yes, there's the pressure of winning the starting job. But man, did he show that they got into his head. And to allow the defense to know that they've gotten into your head as far as to flash the middle finger, what bothers me more than the obscene gesture is the fact that he showed the other team that they were able to get into his head to that extent. And I don't think that's good news going forward, especially if this guy's going to be a good quarterback in the league. It doesn't mean that he can't be, but I didn't know that he was that soft.
Boy,
He's been through a lot.
Yeah, that job was his to take, and he didn't get it.
Yeah.
Hoyer didn't go out and earn it.
I will say, though, last year in college football, right out of the gate, he was flashing money signs to the opposing team. So, I mean, was he rattled there? He was having a lot of success. I just think that's what he does.
Yeah, but at that point, he was going out and scoring touchdowns, too. Whereas this, he's been struggling so far, and I think that came because of the struggles and because of the words that were being spewed from the bench.
Yeah.
Curt, what do you got?
Well, we talked a lot, justifiably, I think, about what a catastrophe Bud Selig has been as commissioner and how unlikely it is that his successor will be much better. But let's say the impossible occurs, that baseball gets its marketing act together. What a litany of young talent it will have to promote. In San Francisco, for example, Buster Posey. In Los Angeles, Yasiel Puig, who has become the most compelling player in baseball. No one wants to miss a time at bat. You go to Boston, Brock Holt, and by the end of this year, he may have quite literally played every position there is to play. Or go to Pittsburgh, where the best ballpark, the most scenic place to play ball can be found, as well as perhaps speediest, the best entire outfield. You go to all of the 30 major league ballparks and their ball clubs and look for young, early 20s, mid-20s. You've got a terrific mix of talent. Pitching savvy, hitting power, fielding finesse. Even Bud Selig can't mess this up, I think.
Thank you, Curt. Boy, you do love your baseball, don't you? Harry, what do you got?
Bills fans, I'm here to tell you that draft day trade was a success. Sammy Watkins is everything you could have imagined. He's everything he was at Clemson, and he's going to bring it to the NFL. I've been at camp the last month, and everything stands out. The aggressive running after the catch, the way he catches the ball. He's got everything you want from an elite blue chipper type wide receiver that you need in this NFL. The Bills have hit a home run.
All right. What's this a steal with the cell phone now?
Well, I record with my cell phone. I made the tragic error of not putting it on airplane
Tragic.
mode. Doug Marone decided to pick it up.
It rings on the
It
platform.
rings on. It buzzed, and he looked down, and I think he even mumbled, "That's unfortunate," as he picked it up.
This is Doug Marone, Bill. No. I picked up this cell phone.
It was your lawyer?
Yes, I'm buying a house, so
Oh,
I need
okay.
an attorney.
I was gonna. I didn't know how
Yeah.
much we should get into.
No,
that.
I tweeted that, and I felt like, man, people are going to think I have a lot of problems, that I have my attorney calling me midday.
Alrighty, look, we started with baseball. Let's finish with it. Everyone's trying to fix baseball. I'm not really convinced that it needs fixing, but maybe the most outlandish, creative idea that I heard presented by anybody, it would create more offense. It would actually probably shave a little bit of the time off the game. Is instead of playing 9 3-out innings, is to play 7 4-out innings. I know Curt's going to love this, but it would juice up the offense, it would speed up the game. It never happened because you'd have to change the words to take me out to the ball game, and that's really probably the thing that's going to stop it. But I got a quick fix. It's something I think that would help the game. I got this out at Frontier Field. Pedro Florman's their shortstop, nice player. All these guys come up, and they come up with a piece of music. I liked Pedro's music. I didn't know what it was, so I got ins with the Red Wings. So I got up into the press box, and I found out what the song was, and I looked it up. And it's a Latin Christian song that translates to "I believe." Really neat kind of thing. Put that out on the scoreboard. Have the players, maybe one at a time on each, get personal with the fans. Tell them why they picked the song. It's a small thing, but improvements come in small increments. We'd like to thank you for joining us here in the Rochester Press Box at Salvatore's Pizzeria. We record every Wednesday at 12:30. We invite you to come down, have lunch, and meet the guys. Danny, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Harry, good to have you back.
Thank you.
Kurt?
Always. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.